All right, guys. So we have some more disturbing news to discuss today. As Marjorie Taylor Greene has been permanently banned for Twitter because of their COVID-19 misinformation policy. Now, here's the thing. I know that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a controversial person, right? She's a controversial political figure who says things that, hey, spark conversation. Okay, they spark conversation on the left and the right. Now, regardless of whether or not you agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene and her political views, regardless of what side of the aisle that you're on, I think in a sane society, we should all be concerned when a politician, somebody that is elected into Congress, is being silenced and censored by major tech companies, right? That's a problem, okay? And the reason why it's a problem, right? It's not about her political views. It's not about things that she says, okay? It's about the fact that this is big tech flexing their power to decide whose voice gets heard and whose voice does not get heard. And that, in my opinion, can sway things politically. It has an effect on our elections. It has effect on how people think. It has effect on the information people are exposed to. These things are important for a healthy political discourse, right? To have all voices be a part of the conversation, regardless of what that person's saying, whether it's true or not. It should be allowed, and you should let the facts and the data and the science speak for itself. Let the battle of ideas play out. However, that's not what they want to do. Right? What they want to do is that they don't want to actually have a debate about the battle of ideas and let it play out and see which ideas are the ones that society accepts and which ones they don't. They want to just decide that for themselves, right? So they suspended her, okay, permanently. And we got some more information here about why she was suspended permanently, right? As I told you, it was about the COVID-19 misinformation policy. It says in a statement from Twitter spokesperson, quote, "We permanently suspended the account you referenced, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for repeated violations of our COVID-19 misinformation policy. We've been clear that per our strike system for this policy, we will permanently suspend accounts for repeated violations of the policy." Now, Twitter also is confirming that she had got a bunch of other strikes before for misinformation or what they deem to be misinformation. Let's see here. The consequences for violating our COVID-19 misleading information policy depend on the severity and the type of violation and the account's history of previous violations. In instances where accounts repeatedly violate this policy, we will use a strike system to determine if further enforcement action should be applied. We believe the system further helps to reduce the spread of potentially harmful and misleading information on Twitter, particularly for high severity violations of our rules. Repeated violations of this policy are enforced against on the basis of the number of strikes an account has accrued for violations of this policy. So apparently Marjorie Taylor Greene got 5 strikes. And I went to Marjorie Taylor Greene's Getter page, and I definitely could easily identify which tweet, if she actually tweeted on her Twitter account, which I'm pretty sure she did, that Twitter marked, okay, as a strike. Now, her government account is still up, right? The one that's, I guess that's like her official government one, not her personal one. And, once again, in the comment section, you have leftists that are celebrating this, right? They're celebrating it. Okay, they're saying, oh, no, this is great. This is awesome. Ban the other account. Why is the other account up? Ban it. Get rid of it, right? Again, these are the same people who probably whined and complained when Vosh and Hassan Abi, Jenk's nephew, got banned from Twitch for saying the C word, which I disagree with, right? I don't think they should be banned for that. But again, they have been pro-censorship, okay, and they've been asking for that, and that's kind of how, big tech responded. They respond to what they believe their people want. And what they also respond to is pressure from the government, which is what has been happening in regards to big tech and censorship. Is you have Democrats that have been in Congress that has just flat out told Twitter, Facebook's, YouTube, all these big tech CEOs, you have to ban what we deem to be harmful misinformation, right? Particularly information that happens to align with a conservative point of view, right? Because they have no problems with misinformation, right? I mean, the biggest misinformation that has been propagated by the left for the last 4 years was the whole Russia collusion thing, right? That was the biggest misinformation, okay? And that was freely allowed. And there was no call to ban Democrats from being able to falsely claim that Russia colluded with President Trump to win the election in 2016. There was no ban on that information, right? Nobody was getting suspended for saying that, even though the mainstream media repeated it time and time again without being able to actually prove that that's what happened. And despite the fact that mainstream media was just dead wrong about what happened, even to the point where people on the left will tell you that, yeah, the Russia collusion thing was BS, right? Everybody on both sides of the aisle agrees that that was BS. I wouldn't want to ban mainstream media from being able to say it, right? Even though it is clearly misinformation, I would not want to ban them from saying it, because at the end of the day, the battles of ideas played out. And that's why people on the left and the right will both admit that, yeah, it was BS, because the evidence and the facts suggest that there was no direct collusion, okay? But the fact that big tech did not ban anybody for saying this type of stuff, right, and for spreading misinformation suggests that the whole harmful misinformation thing is not being enforced equally when it comes to both sides of the political aisle. Okay, and that's my whole problem with the whole, well, it's a private company argument. Because, you know, in principle, I do agree, right, that Twitter has the right to, you know, say who they want on their platform. Like, I do agree with that, right? However, my issue with Twitter is that they're not enforcing it equally. Leftists can go up here and spout misinformation all day long and never be deplatformed for it, right? They'll never be banned for it. In fact, I mean, there's a clip of Rachel Maddow saying things, right, about the vaccine that we know for sure now is not true, okay? And she went on mainstream TV and said it, okay, with authority, right? Things that we know are not true. But my point is that she said it at the time because that's what we thought was true based off the science. However, because science evolves over time, which is what I've been telling you guys, right? Science evolves over time. Information changes. Now we know, okay, this is not necessarily true, right? And this is why banning and censoring information is dangerous. It's actually anti-science, right? When you are censoring scientists, deplatforming legitimate scientists who have been pioneers in the field of science and medicine that they are speaking on, because they don't agree with mainstream scientists, right? The mainstream narrative, again, that is anti-science, right? Which is the irony of all this stuff. They're doing it in the name of, well, we're trying not to put out harmful misinformation that can harm people. Well, again, if the science is changing over time, why would you ban somebody that is a part of the scientific process, right? And that's a catalyst for the information and the facts changing and evolving, right? So that we get closer to what the truth actually is. Why would you ban that person? Because again, it's about pushing a certain narrative. It's not about science. None of this is about science. It's not even about trying to keep people from seeing harmful information. Because in my opinion, if you are pushing out things that's the mainstream narrative and the mainstream narrative isn't true, then that by definition is harmful, right? Because what you're putting out there is not true and that is subject to change. But again, guys, my argument that I've been making about this whole thing and my problem and the most disturbing part about this is that it is systemic. There seems to be systemic censorship going on against viewpoints that conservatives happen to agree with. And this type of systemic censorship is occurring in all levels. Okay, whether it's the federal government, whether you're talking about Fauci and NIH Director Collins in emails colluding together to try to discredit Harvard, Oxford, Stanford scientists, legitimate scientists on their viewpoints, right? Because they don't agree with it, okay? Trying to put out information in the mainstream news to make them look bad and make them look fringe and look like lunatics because, again, they don't agree with certain policies that they're pushing, okay? Whether it's that or you have the government, congressmen encouraging big tech to censor information they deem to be harmful. Okay, and then you have big tech capitulating to those demands, actually doing that, deplatforming the president of the United States. Okay, deplatforming Congress members. while curiously enough, leaving up other world leaders that, in my opinion, you want to talk about harmful, particularly harmful, like the leader of Iran, okay, or academia, right? When we're talking about banning conservative speakers on campus, okay, banning conservatives that trigger a bunch of 18-year-olds, right? That's the type of systemic censorship that we're seeing against conservatives that is happening, that we aren't really talking about enough. It is occurring at all levels. It's occurring at all levels, right? And that's why it's a problem, right? That's why it's an issue. And in my opinion, guys, this systemic censorship of information that is either deemed, to align with a conservative point of view or that's outside of mainstream narrative is the biggest threat to democracy. This is what creates mistrust in the government and our institutions, right? And when people don't trust the government and our institutions, this is how democracy actually erodes, right? People on the left always want to talk about, well, democracy's under attack. Yeah, from the left, right? From the authoritarian left. That is where democracy is under attack from, okay? Because they have single-handedly eroded trust in our institutions because they're not allowing the battle of ideas to play out, okay? Again, when you don't do that, it seems like you have something to hide, which creates mistrust. And once the government has lost the trust of, most citizens, they don't trust anything the government says, anything the government does. Again, that is when you really start to see democracy erode. But the truth is, a lot of these people on the left, particularly the authoritarian left, they don't really care about democracy, right? They simply are cool with authoritarian rule, like what we're saying from Joe Biden. That's why they agree with these mandates, right? As long as the authoritarian agrees with them and what they want, they're totally fine with a dictatorship, authoritarian rule, fascism. They're cool with all that stuff, right? As long as the dictator agrees with them. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.